Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. This time around, we've got something pretty interesting to chew on.
Yeah.
We've got a short piece sent in. It's all about failure and
Oh,
how important it is, actually.
yeah.
And the thing that really jumped out, that it said flat out, if you never fail, you never grow. And, well, we thought that was worth taking a closer look at, see what we can uncover.
Absolutely. It's a pretty bold statement when you think about it, right? Like, kind of goes against everything we're usually taught about, well, succeeding and all that.
Yeah, for sure.
But, when you think about it, like really think about it, a life without any failures at all, well, it might also be a life that's just kind of, flatlining, not really going anywhere.
Yeah, like stuck in a rut. Okay, so let's break this down. So, right at the heart of it, this idea, if you never fail, you never grow. What is it about that resonates with you?
Well, I think it's so powerful because it cuts to the chase. It reminds us that to develop, to really grow, we need to
Yeah.
be challenged. We need to push our boundaries. Think about it like learning any new skill, right?
Sure.
You're going to stumble, you're going to make mistakes, you'll have to correct, refine, and then refine again. Like,
Mhm.
without those initial stumbles, those failures, you're not really figuring out, what works, what doesn't work. You're not testing your limits.
Right, right. You're not pushing yourself. And so maybe you're not growing as much as you could. It's like you said, flatlining.
Hmm.
Okay, so then the piece goes on to talk about how we should think about these, failures, these setbacks as tests. What do you think it means by that?
I love that shift in perspective. When we call it a test, suddenly it's not just about the negative, the failing. It's about the opportunity to learn something, to get feedback.
Right.
Like instead of it being some kind of final judgment, it becomes more like a diagnostic tool, right? It's like, okay, so what went wrong? And more importantly, how can we do better next time? It's
Right.
not about being perfect, it's about progress.
I like that. It's about progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And the piece doesn't stop there.
Okay.
That doesn't just leave us to wallow in our failures. It actually gives us a really strong call to action. It says stand up stronger, move forward faster, and own your destiny. Let's unpack that a little. So stand up stronger, what does that mean to you? What kind of strength are we talking about here?
Well, to me, that's talking about resilience, but it's not just one kind of resilience. It's
Yeah.
like there's the emotional strength, to pick yourself up after a fall.
Yeah.
But then there's also the mental strength, the fortitude to really look at what happened, analyze it without getting all, discouraged and giving up. And even I'd say there's a strategic kind of strengthening that comes from failure because now you know what doesn't work. You've got that firsthand experience to inform your next steps.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like you've learned from the experience and you're better prepared for whatever comes next. Okay, so then there's this move forward faster. How can a failure, a setback, actually help you to make faster progress? That seems kind of counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Right, but it's actually pretty interesting, because sometimes failing at something can give you so much clarity. When something doesn't work, you've basically eliminated a path.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You know for sure that that's not the way to go. So you gain a more focused understanding, a more direct understanding of, well, what not to do, right? And that can really streamline your efforts moving forward. You can be more efficient. Plus, it often injects a lot of energy, a renewed sense of purpose. You've tasted failure, it doesn't feel good. And that can really light a fire under you to find a better way and to find it fast.
So it's like you learn from your mistakes, you become more determined, and that helps you to move forward more quickly, more decisively. Okay. And then finally, own your destiny. That's a big one. How does learning from these setbacks, these failures, contribute to that sense of ownership?
When you actively learn from your mistakes, you're really taking control of your own growth, your own development. You're not just passively letting life happen to you, you're shaping it.
Right, right.
You're taking those setbacks, you're analyzing them, you're adapting, you're making more informed choices. And that sense of agency, of being in control of your learning and your growth, that's essential to shaping your own future, your own destiny.
Okay, so putting it all together then, it sounds like the main message here is that failure is not something we should be afraid of. It's not an obstacle to avoid at all costs, but it's actually an essential part, a necessary part of growth and self-determination.
Exactly. It's about changing our relationship with failure, to see it not as a sign of weakness, but as an opportunity, a chance to learn, to adapt, to become more resilient, more effective, to become the best versions of ourselves.
So for everyone listening, the key takeaway here is, failure, it's not the end. It's not a full stop. It's more like a comma, or maybe even a semicolon. It's a chance to pause, to learn, and to keep going, maybe in a new direction.
And with that in mind, we want to leave you with something to think about. Think back to a time when things didn't go the way you planned, when you experienced a setback, a failure. How did you stand up stronger from that experience? And looking back, did that failure lead you in an unexpected, maybe even a better direction? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time.